Yes people, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got my Audi S3 8P. It's a 2008 model and it's running 420 horsepower. So you're probably wondering, how did I get it to run this power? Well, firstly, the engine is fully forged. I'm just going to go through the spec on my phone because it's really long. So firstly, I've got Vossner pistons, Bartek forged rods, ARP head bolts, and a beach buggy K430 hybrid turbo. So that's the same as your K04, but a hybrid version of it. I've also got all the stage 2 plus bits. So you've got your Audi R8 coil packs, you've got a full exhaust system. So it's a BCS catback exhaust, a relentless 3.5-inch downpipe. I've also had to do a few fueling mods. So it's got a Loba high pressure fuel pump, a DW65 low pressure fuel pump, a 165 bar fuel pressure regulator, a Creation Motorsport runner flap delete, R8 coil packs, which I've already mentioned, RPC 63mm throttle pipe, and an AKS balance shaft delete. Now, all of this obviously costs a huge amount of money. You're looking in excess of £10,000, including labour. Is it worth it? I definitely think so. For 420 horsepower in a car like this, it feels amazing. You've got 4-wheel drive and a 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, so it really puts the power down, especially compared to my Fiesta ST and compared to my mate's Cupra. The 4-wheel drive system just makes sure that it launches. This one's a manual example, a 6-speed, so it is a bit slower than the DSG examples, but I still think it makes it more fun. So if you see, I've got the 18-inch rotor Audi wheels, so I think they're the same as the RS3 ones. I've got TTRS brake calipers, and I've got the TTRS discs on there. They're actually stupidly expensive. I think it's £1,000 just for the discs, because they're floating as well. They're 8 pots, and I believe they're also shared with the Lamborghini Gallardo. So, you know, some crazy stopping power there. If we come around the rear, I've also got upgraded rear discs, and I've got Mintex brake pads all round. Now at the rear, I've kept it quite subtle. We've got the facelift rear lights, because it is a 2008 model, but I believe 2009 was the facelift year. So I just think they look a lot fresher, a lot neater than the older style ones. Now if you look at the car, I think it's beautiful. Audi really know how to design a car. I think it looks purposeful, menacing, and slightly intimidating when you see it in your rear view mirror. If I turn the lights on, you can see I've coded it just so the indicators stay on. There you go. It's also got the beep, which I think sounds a bit tacky, but I think this makes it look a bit older, but a bit more old school. It's quite interesting. I'm just going to pop the bonnet and we can have a look at some of the other mods. So unlike a lot of the new Volkswagen Audi group cars, we've still got the hydraulic strut. So really nice quality there. If we come closer to the engine, you can see the R8 coil packs. You can see the full intake system. I'm actually going to wrap it in heat wrap just so it doesn't, you know, disrupt the actual intake air temperatures. We've got the AKS tuning something there. I'm not actually sure what that is. But yeah, it looks fairly standard, and I like it looking quite standard because you don't want your car looking silly under the bonnet. Just keep it classy, keep it nice. Even the front grille, it used to be black. I've changed it back to silver just because it looks a bit more OEM. But yeah, that's it for under the bonnet. Now in terms of handling, it has got coilovers, but the coilovers that are on it, they're some American brand. It's called X-Power coilovers. They are good on a smooth road. It's really, like it handles really nicely. It's got a full geometry setup, but when it comes to the bumps, it is a bit harsh, unfortunately. But that's just the reality of a car with big rims that are really low. But yeah, overall, I think it looks great and it drives even better. So let's take it for a drive. We're out here in the S3, second gear pull. As you can see, it's ridiculously fast, but it's also quite a capable car. It feels stable mid-corner, and there's not really any of that understeer to speak of that everyone talks about. It's only really in the rain where the understeer becomes apparent. Now, you're probably thinking I'm driving this car like a bit of a this S3, I genuinely didn't like it. The steering was devoid of feeling, the gear shift inspired no confidence, there's a lot of turbo lag as well. You need to learn how to drive an Audi. You can't drive it like it's an ST, you can't drive it like it's a Megane RS. You really have to kind of take the piss almost. And that's what these cars are known for, and that's why they sell so well. You don't have to be the best driver in the world to really go fast in this car. With these cars, it's more about the mid-corner stability, and it's about the high-speed stability as well. Look, don't get me wrong, it is a fun car, but it's not razor-sharp precision that we're talking about here. Now that I'm used to the car, I really enjoy it, but before, I was a bit underwhelmed, especially compared to my Fiesta ST. That car used to just be so electrifying. I used to feel so much through the steering wheel. But with this, you have to be going a lot faster to enjoy it. But I find that's with almost every car that I buy, because they're like a next level. You have to push them harder to get that same thrill. But I do enjoy it. I enjoy the way the power comes in, and I enjoy the way you can really push around a bend. Like, in between gear changes, it does make a little sneezing sound. You probably can't hear it. It does sound great. But yeah, I really, really like this car now. The four-wheel drive inspires so much confidence. As many of you know, it's a Haldex system, so most of the time it's front-wheel drive, but it can send 50% of the power to the rear as well. So you're probably thinking, oh, it must just understeer, you know, the handling's bad. Not at all. I've actually had the rear end out in this. Not power oversteer, but lift off oversteer, which is quite scary in this car, but it is a lot of fun. Now let's talk about some of the other parts. It revs up to 8,000 RPM, which I'm massively surprised by. You know, almost feels Honda-esque, should we call it. But overall, the driving experience is special. It feels so nice in the cabin as well. For a 2008 car, you know, I can't think of any other car in 2008 that feels like this. You know, you've got the nice steering wheel, which is actually upgraded. It's from the facelift model. You know, the 6-speed manual, I will say it's not the best feeling manual in the world. It is a bit like kind of wobbly, imprecise, but you do get used to it. The gear ratios are also quite short. You'll be finding yourself cruising on the motorway at 70 miles an hour, doing about 3,500 RPM. And with this exhaust, it is so boomy. As much as I love the car, I will have to say that, you know, it's not the most maybe comfortable to drive in terms of how refined it is, but that's because of me, because I put the exhaust on there and the coilovers. Those are the only two things. As you can see, look, the coilovers are a bit bumpy, but the exhaust I genuinely don't mind. It's more the coilovers that are a bit exhausting, to be honest. Sound system wise, you're probably seeing this display. That's just because I've replaced the CD changer with a Bluetooth module, so it comes up with this error sometimes. But otherwise, it comes up like that, so it's alright. Up here, I've got my exhaust temperature, and I've got my boost pressure as well. So as you can see, that's in PSI. If I just go down into seconds, you'll see it boost up. I think it will probably hit 25. Obviously they're really, really good. They're off a TTRS, they're 8-pot calipers, and I've also got the Michelin PS4 S's on here, or I think they're just PS4s actually, tell a lie, but they're really, they inspire a lot of confidence. The steering, in terms of the actual ratio, you get used to it with everything. At first I think the car just felt a bit disconnected, a bit, I don't know, not raw. But when you listen to the sound when it builds boost, I'm at 2,000 RPM, so I'm not going to really be going anywhere, but you'll hear the turbo kick in. As soon as boost starts building, you hear the turbo. sorry, the roads are quite bumpy here, so I'm having to steer all over the place. But yeah, you don't get any torque steer. You don't get any, it doesn't drag you across the road too much. It's just more that it's quite bumpy on these roads. On a motorway, you know, this car, it's capable of doing over 190 miles an hour. So in terms of values, you're looking at anywhere from £5,000 to £10,000 to buy one of these cars. Obviously there are outliers. There are some people charging 15 grand for some of these cars. But with an older pre-facelift model like this, without the modifications, I would say you're looking at around the 5 mark. And I don't know another car that can give you this performance. Okay, maybe not this performance, because this one I'm going to charge closer to 10. But let's say a stage 2 one, that's 5 or 6 grand. I'm not sure there's anything else that can really keep up with it in terms of the overall package, the dynamics that it offers, and just the overall look. You know, it looks expensive. I'm so surprised when I take this car out for a drive, even on the main road, even on the high road when I'm going to the shops, the way people look at this car, and they think it's an RS3, I'll be honest. And I never pretend that it's an RS3, but people look at it and they just think that it looks like something special, it looks new, which is so surprising. But yeah, that's a little overview on it. We're just going to take it to some bigger roads and we'll see what it can do. So you can see traction control just cutting in there. I don't know how this car is pulling like this. So boost is building, right up to top end, right up to 8,000 RPM. And honestly, this car is more capable than me. It scares me because it can do so much more than I can as a driver. I don't know if you guys can hear the turbo, but it doesn't sound like any other S3 that I've been in. You know, it doesn't have that farty, kind of cheap sounding exhaust. The BCS in this is notoriously loud and notoriously bassy. I really enjoy it. You know, what a car, what a machine. It's so different to the other cars that I've driven in terms of dynamics. You know, it is more capable and you have to drive it accordingly. You can't drive it with precision. You're not feeling as much kind of feedback from the car. So you have to enjoy it in another way, and that's just by being a bit stupid. Obviously, don't lift off in the middle of corners. Don't kind of power into a corner because you might get some understeer. I haven't really experienced it on the road because I'm not going 10/10ths on the road. I think that's a bit stupid. But in terms of enjoying it up to the bend and then powering out, the way this car powers out of a bend is insane. It squats and it pushes you back in your seat. It's the torque that it has exiting a corner. You know, that's the benefit of four-wheel drive. With a rear-wheel drive car, coming out of a bend, that's when you can, you know, step the back out a little bit. You might get some power oversteer. With these, it's just fully planted, and I think that's the appeal of an S3. You know, you get a relative amount of luxury, a nicely designed dashboard, combined with the let's say the potential for performance. You know, a stage 2 one of these is making, let's say, around 380 to 390 horsepower. A stage 2 plus one. A normal stage 2 might make 350 or 360, but even that power is fun. It's impressive. So yeah, overall, I do really like this car. I do appreciate it's not for everyone. It's not a car that will set your heart on fire in terms of dynamics or in terms of, you know, raw feel, but in terms of how capable it is, it's definitely something special. So yeah, if you're in the market for one of these, definitely consider it, but do appreciate that it's an Audi. It drives like an Audi. For the first 2 weeks, you're not really going to like it. That's the best way I can explain it. A BMW, I jump in a BMW and it feels so intuitive. It feels like I've already driven it for a month and I'm used to it. An Audi, it takes some time to get used to. So yeah, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.